I recently got an interesting comment about tracing. In my first studio vlog, I was painting a portrait with alcohol markers and I clearly said that I was tracing and that to me tracing is not cheating. But this comment made me think that maybe we need to talk about this. So let's see that. Is tracing cheating in art? Before watching the video, what do you think? Is tracing cheating? Let me know in comments. And if you changed your mind after the video, go and fix your comments. Actually, tracing has always been around artists. Some of our most famous painters are suspected to use tracing in their art. There are no exact scientific evidence of it, but it's really a discussion in the art world. They use the camera obscura. The camera obscura is a little tool that you can use to reflect something, someone, a landscape or whatever it is in a small box, and with the hole it's projected downside, reverse on a canvas. So you can flip down your canvas once you're done, but you cannot reverse it once you're done. So it's like painting with a mirror, if you see what I mean. Not all of them would do that, but famous artists did it. Did you ever wonder how such views were possible to draw before the camera? Yeah, they were using this convenient tool. Vermeer, Caravaggio, Da Vinci are suspected to use tracing. And you see what I do? I say suspected. It's not a mistake, it's not a problem. Their art is still valid. And sometimes they were also using blueprints. What is it exactly? They were drawing on a paper, so okay, at some point they were actually drawing, but to transfer the drawing on the canvas or the wall, they were using little dots everywhere on the lines and placing the blueprint on the surface. They were using chalk powder to transfer the dotted lines so they could trace it and sketch it again on the surface they were about to paint. Was it cheating? I'll let you see. And so, nowadays, modern artists are using what they have on hand, which is projector, digital, camera, everything that is usable, and you can go analog as well with tracing paper, transfer paper, light table, a window, whatever you want that is accurate for you to transfer your drawing on the surface you want to paint on. Okay, so now let's see what are the pros and cons of using tracing in your art. Let's see the pros first. This is a huge time saver. I'm a professional artist and I have to produce a lot of different things for my different courses, my membership, for social media, for my own pleasure. And sometimes I don't have the time to draw. So I will use a transfer paper that I love, which is this one. It comes in different colors and it's really cool because you can erase it just like regular pencil. And also you can adjust depending on the surface you are tracing on. If you are using wood, for example, you can take a blue paper. But if you are on paper, I usually use red because it blends very well for portraits, for example. But for landscape, I would use blue. And sometimes I just want to play with color. I don't want to spend time on the drawing. I want to jump in right now in the color because it's urgent. I need to do it. So sometimes a drawing can take 15, 30 minutes and I don't have this time. I just want to grab my paint and have fun with color. So tracing in this case is really helpful. But I always say I'm tracing. I'm not hiding it because to me, it's not an issue. It's an asset and I want to use it whenever I want. Second reason to use tracing, it can boost your confidence, especially when you're a beginner. What I mean by that is sometimes you want to spend time on a drawing and a painting, but if your drawing is not accurate, you spend maybe 2-3 hours in the painting, and at the end, your finished product is really wrong because your drawing was wrong. So if you don't want to spend too much time painting for nothing, you better trace. And I'll talk later about why tracing for beginners can be a downside. And number 3, why tracing is good for your art. It's a great way to experiment. You can also build different composition with tracing different elements, and you could trace digitally or with pen and paper. And when you are trying to build a complex composition, you are taking elements from here and there, have your pieces moving on the paper. It's a great way to experiment and not lose too much time on this part of the process. Now, what are the downsides of tracing in your art? Well, first, for beginners, I would say that it's not helping your skills. It depends on how you trace, by the way. But if you only trace, you will never learn how to draw. And tracing can be a tool to learn how to draw, but if you do it properly, I mean by that, if you trace a portrait, for example, you could just randomly trace the image, or you could use the tracing and look at the proportions, look at how it works after you have the basic skills of drawing. So I think it goes hand by hand. You first need to have the basics of drawing, the proportions of the human face, human body, whatever it is that you are drawing. And then to improve, you can trace a complex portrait, complex posture or something like that, and then compare to what you have learned. And it can be an improvement, but if you only trace without any basic skills, that could prevent you from growing as an artist. Second downside is tracing can lower your creativity because you are not experimenting enough, and also, how would I say that? You are not getting the happy accident that can happen when you are drawing or sketching or just doodling, by the way. Third downside is the perception of your art. A lot of people, and I refer you to the comments I showed you at the beginning of the video, think that tracing is cheating. So if you are using tracing, there are 2 ways to do it. You could just say it out loud, like I do, and you'll get this kind of comments, but that's okay. I'm perfectly okay with it, but maybe you won't like this. Or you don't say that you trace, and if someone is seeing that you trace, they will say that you are cheating twice by tracing and by not telling it. So it's really personal. How do you feel with all those comments, with all those eyeballs on social media? Are you even sharing your art on social media? Depends on how you feel with tracing and with mean comments. Let's talk about copyright issues. You don't want to steal someone else's work, being a painter or a photographer. This is why when I'm tracing, I'm always using copyright-free images, and I link in the description a video I made about copyright-free image and where to find them. The bottom line of this is, to me, there is no such thing as cheating in art. No technique, no tool is cheating for me. Art is experimenting. Art is having fun. Art is expressing yourself. You are the artist. You decide what is art for you. And if you think that tracing is okay, then go for it. And don't bother too much about people saying otherwise. If you want to, I don't know, tear a paper and glue it and call it art, that's fine. Every art is valid. You are the artist. So now let's have fun and create something today and trace it if you want.